into the mediums and then the hards toward the end of the race. So, you can see our competitors all lined up and ready. Semi-final A for the 2020 FIA Gran Turismo Championships here in Sydney is about to get underway. We're on track here at the Kyoto Driving Park for semi-final A. Grid all lined up. Here is the man who starts from pole position. It's the Japanese driver, Takuma Miyazono. Alongside him is the Briton, Adam Sassuillo, in the racing green machine. The second row of the grid, Baptiste Beauvoir, the Frenchman. Keep an eye out for him. He was hugely impressive in our world final last year. Salvatore Maraclino as well, the Italian, lines up on row 2. Row 3 is Adam Wilk, the driver from Sydney. Huge cheer from the crowd here tonight as well. Coque Lopez, the Spaniard, is in P6. And the next row of the grid is Rayan Derouche in 7th position. And then in P8, it's Marc Pinel, the Canadian driver. And the next row of the grid lined up is Alonso Regalado. And then in 10th position, you can see Jose Brea, the Spaniard. Pierre Lemoire lines up in P11, the Frenchman. He's going to have a lot of work to do down there with Fabien Portilla. Interestingly for Fabien, he didn't qualify in this event. He only arrived here yesterday morning, Jimmy Broadbent, so he's got a lot of work to be done. Yeah, definitely on the back foot. I can attest to that. Jet lag isn't very nice to experience. I've just about got over it myself. Looking forward to flying back tomorrow and starting it all again. But yes, so here's my hot pick for the event, not just because he was my pro driver in the Pro-Am event, Adam Sassuillo, another driver who is very, very fast online, but just is not able to convert it into the events here. Now, tyre strategy. Top 2 drivers starting on that soft compounder tyre. They want to try and break away early and get the most out of that tyre possible, with Baptiste Beauvoir and Salvatore Maraclino behind. Also, Adam Wilk and Coque Lopez all opting for the medium. So, Takuma Miyazono will lead the field over the timing line, followed by the Briton Adam Sassuillo. The crowd cheering here in Sydney as the Nations Cup action in Australia is about to go green. We're ready to go racing. Semi-final A is about to get underway as the field come over the timing line for the first time, and the World Tour for the FIA Certified Gran Turismo Championships Nations Cup is underway. Then Miyazono leads the field over the timing line as they head down towards the first corner, all ducking and darting into the slipstream. Adam Sassuillo there in second place. Keep an eye out as well for Rayan Derouche, who's trying to get the best of Marc Pinel as they come down through into the first corner. Everybody trying to keep their nose clean. The fortunate thing for them here is it's relatively long, that first corner, and relatively fast as well. They don't have to go hard on the brakes through there, but as they tighten up into these S's, that's where we're going to see drivers getting a bit more aggressive. As we ride on board with Miyazono, you can see the pressure that he is being put under already in the first sector of this lap by Adam Sassuillo. Despite the big old wing on the back, these things don't really have that much downforce. They move around quite a lot in the S's there. You see Adam Sassuillo now harrying Takuma Miyazono in front, losing a little bit of time there for the long left-hander. These cars are very, very prone to oversteer, too enthusiastic on the rail pedal, and you might end up facing the wrong way. Adam now chasing Miyazono down the hill. It's a great overtaking spot if you're feeling brave enough, but Takuma covers that nicely. He's sliding into the chicane here as we now go back up the hill. A little bit slow off exit there, I think, for Miyazono, but also a little bit worse for Adam Sassuillo, who goes wide. Meanwhile, Adam Wilk has been given a penalty there for what I assume is cutting the circuit, so we'll lose a little bit of time when he has to serve that. That's a half-second penalty there for Adam Sassuillo, for Adam Wilk, rather, I should say. Exactly right there, Jimmy. So he has been deemed to exceed track limits already. That's an automatic in-game penalty, and that is due to be served at the penalty zone. Keep an eye out for that. You'll see the yellow markers either side of the racetrack, and that is where he'll serve it. It's actually a 1.5 second penalty, so clearly he's cut it more than we were expecting. Through the left-hander we go, and he's getting ready to serve that as he comes over the start-finish straight to end the first lap. Here's Coque Lopez fancying a nibble up the inside, though. Side by side he comes, and the Spaniard goes through into 5th position, so that's nice and easy, pretty textbook there. Not much of a defence from Adam Wilk, not much point really now with that penalty as well, because he's going to drop back quite significantly in the opening stages of this one as he now begins to serve that penalty. And this is what we were expecting as well. The drivers on the hard compounder tyres, they want to get off that as soon as possible. There's no minimum tyre time that they have to be on. They can do it for one lap, they can get off it, they can get onto the mediums or the soft compounder tyres, and they will be quicker towards the closing stages of that race.
Yeah, so interestingly, out of the people who have pitted, Fabien Portier in last has gone for that soft compounder tyre. So watch out for him now. He'll be very quick on this stint, but maybe suffer a little bit later on when going on to that medium. Meanwhile, front of the field, Japanese driver defending from a British driver. On board now with the Mazda RX-7, the rotary-powered machine. Watch out for those apex sills as we go around the long left-hander. Nice and easy. You see a little bit too aggressive on the throttle there from Willowman. That meant that his exit wasn't quite as good as Takuma Miyazaki, but he's got that draft down the hill. Now, it says they qualified 5th. That was overall. Our drivers then had the choice of which race they went into. Of course, Adam opting for this one, sideways there from the chicane. You've taken quite a lot of curb there. I think Miyazaki maybe a little bit too greedy on that inside curb. Of course, there is an auto track cut detection system in place here, so if you take the mick a little bit too much, you'll be slapped with a penalty.
I was talking to Adam Siswillow actually at lunchtime as well and saying, what's his strategy? And he just said, follow Takuma Miyazono. That's my plan. Follow him as long as I can in this race, and I'll just do exactly what he does. If he slips up and makes a mistake, that's me into the pound seats, but he's not going to try and force him into doing anything. And at the moment, he's doing exactly what he wanted to do and what he needs to do.
He followed him a little bit too closely there, and Miyazono just kicks up a little bit of dust there, showing that he's feeling the pressure there from the British driver. Yeah, a little bit, and this car kind of promotes that sort of driving. It's so loose when you're getting on the throttle, and when you're really pushing it to the limit, you kind of drive it sideways a little bit, which means a bit more spectacular for us to watch, of course, as well. But that gap not really changing. 3 tenths at a line. Meanwhile, our second group behind on the medium compounder tyre. Just for you guys watching, of course, here, and you guys watching at home, the medium compounder tyre is about a second or so a lap slower than the soft compounder tyre, so we will see them fall back for now, but bear in mind, everyone has to use every compound of tyre during this race. So whilst Miyazono and Siswillow are quick now, they won't be as quick as the race unfolds. Looking back now from Miyazono for the S's, that'll be a scary sight for him. The Union Jack adorned RX-7. I think it's the first time I've ever seen a Union Jack on an RX-7, actually.
Yeah, probably so. Alonso Regalado, meanwhile, has made his first pit stop. He stayed out for an extra lap on the hard tyres for reasons I can't quite fathom myself at the moment, and has got off of those now onto the medium tyres, but has subsequently dropped to the back of the field with everybody else having pitted around him. But you can see there the top two having really broken away from Baptiste Beauvoir in 3rd position. So Miyazono versus Siswillow, clearly those two working together quite well. And don't forget, you can join in the conversation here tonight. Hashtag FIAGTC, hashtag GT Sport on the social media channels. Get in touch, let us know your thoughts on the racing here tonight. And of course, don't forget, you can also vote for your Michelin Driver of the Day here as well. Hashtag Michelin FIAGTC is the hashtag. If somebody sticks out for you tonight and you want to vote them the Driver of the Day, that's how you do so.
Yeah, make sure to tag Tom and let him know how good his hair looks, bless him. Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
It's good for his self-esteem. So coming out the hairpin then, and you see, again, this is what I'm talking about. You see they're kind of struggling there to get the power down coming out of the hairpin. There's about 400 horsepower or so in these RX-7s, so they're definitely no slouch. Here we are, a great side-by-side here with Takuma Miyazono in your top left and Adam Siswillow in your bottom left, if you can't read like me. And Adam there, you see they're very similar driving style, very chill, but you see Takuma's hands a bit further up on the wheel. We call that a death grip, the Jean Alesi style death grip.
Just about to say, yeah, it's Jean Alesi-esque driving style.
Some people say it's better for kind of wrangling a car around the circuit, not as good for precision, which maybe for this car is a good idea, to be honest, given that it is quite a difficult car to drive. Now here is Adam Wilk, of course, the home driver here from Sydney itself here, struggling a little bit. I think the penalty really affects him early on. You see the penalty he's got has dropped him right down to 7th place. If I were Adam, it might have tried to serve the penalty while pitting, might try something a little bit cheeky and try and get away with it, but I'm sure the stewards would say no to that.
Well, just looking through at some of Adam's results, he finished 4th in semi-final A at the World Tour 5 in Tokyo last year, 5th in the repechage in Paris as well. Other than that, he's not really had much to write home about. Now, here is Fabien Portier doing a great move on Rey and Rouge. Side by side, those two are coming.
Nice.
That's lovely. Textbook through up the inside there for Portier. He, of course, is on the quicker compound of tyre on the soft compound compared to Rey and on the medium, so he's got significantly more grip, and that was evident there going into that turn.
Meanwhile, the front of the field, I think Adam is as close as he has been so far. He's sitting in the draft of Miyazono, but as you said, he might just be following around right now, not too bothered with trying to get past if he can around here. The thing is, following someone is easy, overtaking them is not so easy, especially the pace is so similar. Great little picture-in-picture, and you can see just the wheel work going in. Now, I can tell you though, those headphones, I wore them earlier, well, yesterday on my program race, you wore them earlier as well. You can barely hear a thing when you've got those on outside of the game. They're great to have on, so as loud as Tom shouts, they can't hear him.
No, I couldn't hear that, but I could hear the crowd booing as you maybe into some pantomime villain here for that race, Jimmy, so thanks very much for that. Goodness me. Anyway.
Because you are, mate.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Anyway, back to the action. Adam Sassuolo, you can see him there sitting in second position. Just looking through at some of his results from last year. And if you look to his results, you'd think, well, how on earth is he here? Because he's not really had anything to write home about over the last year or so. I'm just looking through now, and I can see a few top 5 finishes, a couple of top 4s, one podium he had all season in Austria. But other than that, it's not really been a good year for him, and he seems to be a little bit more calm, a little bit more focused here this time around. And that's the thing, isn't it? When you get that momentum started, it's easier to continue it. If you start off on the wrong foot, it's very easy to get into a downward spiral.
I mean, Guy's a fast driver. He's very quick on line, but just never really performed at these events. So we'll keep an eye on him, see how he does. Meanwhile, Adam Wilkin to the pits onto the soft compounder tyres, and now it's time for Adam to try and charge back and gain back some of the time he lost in his first stint. Now, with these races, we tend to see people spread out in the middle of the race, but the last few laps, people will come back together again, the strategies start crossing over, and you tend to get quite an exciting finisher. So there is the predicted tyre strategy. I can tell you now that was wrong. We need to fire whoever made that graphic, because basically you spend as long as you can on a soft compounder tyre. That's it. So really, ideally, if you can make it last, because bear in mind there is 15 times tyre wear, so 15 laps pretty much for 1 lap of driving around the circuit of tyre wear, that is, I should say. If you can make it last, keep it on the carb, it'll be quicker.
Yeah, you can see Adam Wilkin just being really, really careful with his steering inputs as well, and that's important, isn't it? You've got to not wrestle that car too much. If you've got an aggressive driving style, it's not going to suit that, because the tyre wear is so significant. You're going to wear them out faster than others around you who perhaps might be being a little bit more smooth. You can see Wilt there just trying to be a little bit careful. As you say that, though, he ran over the curb there and it got all sorts of out of shape. And he's been given a penalty as well for exceeding track limits, so it's going from bad to worse, sadly, for the local boy here tonight. Real
shame, but of course, the race is more than one person. Regalado there was defending for some reason. I can't really fathom why. I think maybe he thought he was a bit closer than he was, but front of the field, there you go, there's a penalty there on screen, and basically that's what you get for cutting the track around here. There are track cut penalties in place. You can't just be taking chunks out of a circuit and expect not to be punished for it, and unfortunately that's just the way things go. In front there, Jose Brea getting it a little bit wrong as well, the Spanish car. Now who's into the pits now? Baptiste Beauvoir going onto the hard compounder tyre. That's interesting, because that means himself, Marroquino and Coque Lopez, they're going to go onto the soft tyre for a fast finish. So watch out for these guys as we get into the closing stage of the race. I'll say that actually, what we'll probably see is them just go out and come back in again and get rid of that hard compounder tyre.
Well, I wonder that, though, because I'm wondering about the longevity of the soft tyres. There's Fabian Portilla, who is also on the soft tyres and has been for quite a while, so let's keep an eye out for him, because he pitted at the end of lap 1, let's not forget. Salvatore Marroquino in front of him, just behind is Coque Lopez. He's in a bit of a sandwich at the moment. There are the predicted tyre strategies, as you can see once again on your screen. Coming through the right-hander, here is Fabian Portilla with a face full of the Italian Salvatore Marroquino. Through the right-hander they go, over the crest of the hill and coming down to go into the long left-hander. And is Marroquino going to be able to find his way past through into here? Sorry, is Portilla going to find his way through against Marroquino? Not quite on this occasion.
Tell you to keep an eye on right now is Ryan Deriche. He's down in 11th place, sure, but he's made both his pit stops, and Fabian Portilla there exploring the curb a little bit to try and get past Marroquino. He is on the better tyre, so he'll be looking to try and get by as quick as he can, almost driving into the back of the Italian driver. I think a little bit of a kiss there between the two. Getting a little bit too friendly, I think, for these. This is a PG-13 competition. That's been nice out there. And now we come up the hill. Let's see if Portilla can find anywhere to pass. Not really an overtaking zone here, but the hairpin coming up now is a great place to send it up the inside. Be feeling brave. What will he do? Fabian Portilla late on Yanks. He goes up the inside of the Italian driver, and Fabian Portilla from last on the grid is now up into 5th position. He does have a stop yet to make, though. Meanwhile, front of the field, Miyazono and Adam Sassuolo are still going at it. I wonder how long they can make these soft tyres last. Let's see if they peel into the pit lane. They do. So in they come now. What tyre are they going to go for?
Going to go for the medium tyres here and opt to have the hards at the end of the race, but they're going to try and do that as we would expect for 1 lap over the course of this one. Now, is Baptiste Beauvoir going to go off the hard tyres onto the soft tyres for the closing stages of this one? Let's keep an eye out for that. Out of the pit lane comes Miyazono. Now here on the outside you can see, of course, is Mark Pinnell, the Canadian driver who cuts the nose off of Takuma Miyazono. Mark Pinnell, of course, has not made his pit stops yet here so far. Miyazono slices it back through and gets back into the race lead, but that has now put a car between Miyazono and Adam Sassuolo here.
That's going to be disastrous for Adam Sassuolo now, because he's going to be held up by Mark Pennell on a worn medium compounder tyre. She said no stops made just yet, so that's going to break the draft. It'd be a great turn of luck for Miyazono. But of course, Mark Pennell, he's still racing as well. He does not have to let anyone through. Adam Swillow sending it up the inside.
Contact.
Was there contact there?
I think there was a bit of contact going into there, because the way that Pennell went off the circuit, I do wonder whether there was a bit of contact. Let's see if we can get a replay of that and see what happened. But either way, it could have been a mistake from Mark Pennell. But I think given the angle,
yeah, there you go.
Colliding with the other car, and I reckon Adam's going to get the penalty from that one as Miyazono drifts it into the corner and runs it way too hot into that chicane.
Yeah.
Here is Wilk versus Jose Brea coming side by side down to the hairpin. The Australian on the inside, side by side he comes through into 5th position. Lovely stuff there from Adam Wilk on the soft combat of tyres against the medium shod Jose Brea. And now Alonso Regalado is going to try and attack against his fellow Spanish-speaking rival. Through into the right-hander we go, and as we said, you can also vote for your Michelin driver of the day. Now let's see what happened between Swillow and Mark Pennell here. We're going to go on to the brakes in just a few moments. I think there was a bit of a bump. There was.
Oh yeah, just. I think it was just a tiny bit. I mean, that's going to be on Adam, of course, but I think he thought he was clear. Tried to get on the brakes there, wasn't clear. Punting him off the circuit, and that is that. So now a reminder for those at home. There's Mark. Give us a wave, hello, Mark. A reminder for those at home and those of you in the audience right now. Top 6 go through to the grand final. So maybe if you're 5th or 6th place, don't worry about it too much. Just stay where you are, and you have a chance of winning this thing when we get to the grand final a bit later on today. So Mark Pennell has decided to take this opportunity to come into the pit lane. I can't really understand his strategy. I must have, or maybe he was just trying to get some camera time or something. I'm not really sure what he was doing, because that's not going to be good for him. Fabian Portier coming to the pit as well to get rid of his soft tyres and going on to the mediums. And of course, because I think Miyazono actually had a little bit of a mistake earlier on, because Swillow has now just closed right back up to the Japanese driver. Of course, there is a bit of a draft here as well. Not too much of a draft in these cars, but enough to pull you back up to someone if you are falling behind.
Well, we saw Miyazono going deep into that chicane, which might have cost us a bit of time, and that is why Swillow is back through. There is an incident under investigation between Alonso Regalado and Jose Brea. Those two are running nose to tail on the circuit, and you can see that Alonso Regalado is now into 4th position, Brea down into P7. So maybe there was contact between the two, which has cost him to go down the order.
I think Wilkes played a bit of a blinder here, actually. I think he's going to be on that soft tyre for quite a while now, probably right to the last lap, and he's going to be putting away consistently from the guys behind him, Regalado and Doric as well. Now here's a replay. So here was Wilkes there. Here he is getting past Jose Brea, the one you saw just now, going up the inside and just using that soft combat. Look how much later he can brake there. Just throws it up the inside. Thank you very much, Sonny says. Up to 5th and off to chase down the podium places.
Lovely stuff there. Brilliant textbook overtaking move. Of course, keep an eye for Baptiste Beauvoir, who is in the background of your shot. He has made all of his pit stops. He is now on the final run to the checkered flag. Miyazono again just looking a little bit scrappy, a little bit sideways. As you said, Jimmy, that's kind of the way you have to drive this car, but I don't know whether it's because he's under pressure from Adam Swillow, but he just looks a little bit less comfortable than the Briton. Meanwhile, here are two Spaniards going side by side with one another, Jose Brea and Coque Lopez, squabbling for 7th position in this one. Lopez, of course, has made all of his pit stops. He's on the softer, faster compound of tyres, and Maraclino as well, ready to come through and pounce on the inside. And you can see Brea there trying to find his way through on the inside. Lopez going the long way around the outside, though, on that soft tyre. Lovely move there from Coque Lopez. His next target then is, or was going to be Alonso Regalado, but the Peruvian driver darts into the pit lane at the end of the lap.
So Adam Swillow has been awarded a 1-second penalty for that contact with Mark Pennell you saw before. I think that's pretty much a slam dunk penalty in my eyes, so he'll have to slow down at the penalty line. Coque Lopez, of course, now with this overtake is now up into the top 6, meaning that he will go through to the grand final. What do we expect from Mr. Consistency Lopez? I'm really concentrating on saying that word, so I don't lisp it too hard. But we're watching him go around now. And there's Maraclino. Right now, if the race ended, he would be going home. So, of course, he'll be hungry to try and get past Coque Lopez in front. But dragging with him is Pierre Lenoir, the Frenchman, someone who started off so well in our World Tour events all the way back in 2018, but has not really performed since then. And Tom's going to find some stats for us now, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm just having a look through his stats last year in the World Tour events, Jimmy. And again, you're absolutely right, nothing to write home about. He was only at 2 of them. And in the World Final, he finished in 9th position in semi-final B. Other than that, the only other thing that is worth mentioning is a 4th place finish at the repechage, and it's not hit off on the right foot here for Pierre Lenoir. Whether he's perhaps just struggling with the car, struggling with whatever it might be, it's great to have him here. You can see our Italian commentators passionate as ever as they see Salvatore Maraclino squabbling with Coque Lopez at 4th position. Lopez going defensive, Maraclino opting to try and get better drive out of the corner and find his way past the Spaniard. Not close enough on this occasion, but certainly signalling his intentions very much. And this, of course, course, as you said, Jimmy, is for the final spot in the grand final tonight for the Nations Cup.
Now, a reminder, of course, that our first and second place drivers are still yet to make their last pit stop. So they're going to have to get that done. The gaps are going to come right down, and we're going to have a fantastic scrap to the line, I think, at this point. But when do they stop? They're going to try and stop as late as possible, so we'll probably see him come in on lap 12 or 13. Meanwhile, Coque Lopez being drafted by Salvatore Marocchino, coming down to T1 here. Now we go back to third position. Adam Wilk has, I think, lost that to Baptiste Beauvoir, the French driver, someone, again, who showed some great improvement last year. But Wilk is still yet to make a stop as well. So right now, I think maybe it's not looking good for the Australian driver.
Through into the left-hander there for Adam Wilk. Of course, as you said, Jimmy has got to make that pit stop. He's got a lot of faster drivers behind him on that soft tyre already. So he's going to be a bit of a sitting duck here, Wilk, and he has had those 2 penalties over the course of this race as well. 2.5 seconds in total it equates to in penalties. So it has not been an easy ride for the Australian driver. He will need some luck and somebody to make a mistake around him to try and capitalise on that in the closing stages of this one. Fewer than 3 laps now remain as we ride on board with him, coming down in towards this hairpin. Into this chicane, I should say, rather. And you can see there just the car looking so unsettled on corner entry, but it's just a brilliant spectacle to watch as well.
Coque Lopez then coming through the chicane. You see how sideways he gets through there, just trying to get on the power and get rid of Marocchino, trying to lose the toe through there, as we come up now through the chicane up to the hairpin. This is one of the best overtaking spots on the circuit. In the background, Pierre Lenoir and Marc Pinel going side by side. Marc there on the fresher soft compounder tyre, so he's really harrying the Frenchman. So again, this is the fight for survival. This is the fight for the last slot in the grand final coming up after this, or after the next semi-final, we should say. Great view here from Marocchino, hopping over the curves and then just trying to get the car settled on exit there. So much power there to deliver to these sport compounder tyres, and the car does struggle on full throttle. There is Marocchino looking very, very concentrated. And you see there, he's one of those guys, that's right, he drives from a chase cam. People are going to give him a little bit of stick for that, I imagine, at home, but whatever works, works.
Yeah, it seems to be working for him very nicely here so far. And, well, Lewis Hamilton drives from the chase cam, and he's a 6-time Formula 1 world champion. So
yeah,
I think that's the argument closed,
go.
Isn't it? I tell you what, though, we've got Spanish and Italian commentators here. At the moment, it's going to be a Spanish or Italian driver that's going to be going through into this final. Well, that, of course, is not encountering for Adam Wilk, who's going to make his final pit stop, which could, of course, change the situation somewhat.
I was going to say, I'm glad they're in a soundproof booth. Otherwise, you'd be able to hear them over us, to be honest. And very passionate guys.